get this link posted up to Chris White's Telegram group. I just got off Chris White's live stream, and I'm doing this live stream plus watching the Las Vegas Golden Knights versus the LA Kings hockey game. And Chris and I are on two opposite ends of the spectrum right now. He is for the Golden Knights, I'm for the LA Kings, and they are rivals. Now, that being said, I hate to say it, but the Las Vegas Golden Knights is the better team of the two this year, but maybe the Kings will get lucky and the Las Vegas Golden Knights will be asleep and the Kings can win the game. Let's just hope that happens for the LA Kings' sake. I know Chris will be mad and disappointed, but it'll do my heart good to see the Kings do well. So hang on, let me get this posted to the Telegram group. Thank you guys for tuning in. A lot of people didn't tune in yesterday because I streamed so late, so I'm going to do some repeats of what happened last time. So just hang on one second. Let me get this posted up to Chris's Telegram group. If anybody wants to tune in, just follow the link there. Props to everybody for doing Chris's live stream. I saw his live stream earlier today too, but I was driving coming back from my brother's place. But let's just hang on one second. Okay, I did a video yesterday about how the South African strain has really plagued the African nation of Malawi right now. And the African nation of Malawi is very, very different than South Africa. The African nation of Malawi, while they're a poor nation, they've developed a pretty good relationship with their former colonial power, the UK, and they also have good relationships with the United States. They have a military that's very courteous and professional. Same with their law enforcement, but the military and the law enforcement stay out of the political spectrum and obey the leaders who are elected, unless the leaders that are elected violate the Malawian constitution. And that relationship has served pretty well. So we need to pray for Malawi, but right now Malawi is going through some tough times with the COVID-19. They have recently had to take over their national soccer stadium, the Bingu National Stadium, and make it a 300-bed hospital facility because Malawi currently has 14,000 active COVID-19 cases, and apparently the South African strain has hit Malawi, and it's hit Malawi pretty hard. Malawi is also facing a shortage of hospital beds and a shortage of healthcare workers. They were trying to recruit around 3,000 healthcare workers recently, and they missed their goal by about 700 or 800. And so please keep Malawi in your prayers. Lazarus Chakwera got elected on the promise of balancing the budget and reducing the deficit and also reducing corruption because the Peter Mutharika government, which is rare for Malawi, but they were engaging in corruption. And Lazarus Chakwera was trying to balance the budget and not spend as much money, but he's had to spend over $50 million in helping to counter the COVID-19 situation. Now, the Vatican has been fairly generous to Malawi in offering free ventilators to their Catholic hospitals and some hospital beds, but it's just at the moment, it's just not enough. So please keep Lazarus Chakwera and the entire nation of Malawi in your prayers in that situation. So how are you guys doing? Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys are doing well. Right now, also in South Africa, Renato Host is going through a headache right now because the beaches of Nelson Mandela Bay have reopened, and I was for the beaches reopening. However, there are a lot of people on the beaches right now that are drinking alcohol, they're not wearing a mask, and they're not social distancing, and the police has largely been unresponsive to the situation. And the police will not arrest people for violating the mask, not social distancing, but then they will arrest surfers who were wearing a mask when they weren't surfing, and they are also social distancing, adhering to the guidelines. They just thought they ought to be able to go to the beach and surf. But then they arrested the surfers, chased them down with their police motorcycles, but then they'll allow people who are not wearing a mask to walk right by a police car and not do, excuse my language, but not do a damn thing about it. That is unacceptable, that is asinine, and that is one reason I firmly believe that the COVID-19 evolved the way that it did in South Africa was due to the ANC's corruption and ineptness of governance. And that is why they have also been accused of embezzling $17.5 million that was given to them by banks in Africa and also banks in England for COVID-19 funds because their public hospitals are not fit to handle the COVID-19 crisis. And that is unacceptable. And a lot of the members of the ANC need to go to prison for doing that. And I believe a lot of them are Ramaphosa's cronies. And has Ramaphosa engaged in corruption? I'm not sure, but I do know that the Zuma faction of the ANC still has been, but Ramaphosa will not do anything to discipline the Zuma faction because he needs the Zuma faction of the ANC to be able to hold the ANC together and to not lose KwaZulu-Natal province. KwaZulu-Natal province is a stronghold of the ANC, but that's mainly because Jacob Zuma is Zulu. If Jacob Zuma has a big falling out with the ANC, the Inkatha Freedom Party will take over KwaZulu-Natal, and then the ANC will have trouble staying in power. And the IFP will also go into some sort of a coalition or an alliance with the Democratic Alliance, the DA, and then the ANC will be out of power. So I highly believe that Ramaphosa is not going to reduce corruption or try to reduce corruption within the African National Congress. Has he engaged in corruption? I'm not sure. There hasn't been any proof of it. What there has been proof of is that his party's still engaging in corruption and the Zuma faction's still been engaging in corruption. If you guys feel differently or have an opinion, feel free to comment on it, on the situation. Okay, on the situation in Liberia, recently George Weah's son has been in Paris, and he's been in Paris partying when he's not supposed to, apparently not adhering to COVID-19 guidelines. George Weah Jr., he has the same name as his father, and he's been in Paris, and he was in a prominent Paris neighborhood, and there was apparently loud noise and a lot of drinking going on, and he apparently was very intoxicated. Well, the cops arrested him. Did they take him to jail? No, they detained him, and he showed them his diplomatic passports. And they're going to review the diplomatic passports to see if it adheres to the guidelines of diplomatic immunity or not. But like father, like son, George Weah has done a lot of bad things for the country of Liberia. Oh, Leanne Prentice, hey, how are you? I'm glad you find that my content interesting. Thank you very much. And Leanne Prentice, last live stream I did was on Uganda, and MTV actually did something right for once on Uganda. They had suspended their MTV Africa Awards. It was set to take place in Kampala, Uganda, but because there was so much fraud in the last election and Bobby Wine was unjustly detained and arrested, they're going to suspend their MTV Africa Awards. They're canceling it for this year. They're not going to hold it in Kampala. And I think Museveni's been an idiot with this. Museveni has ruled since 1986. He's done a lot of good things, as I've talked about. The AIDS crisis is reduced by 80% under Museveni. Crime is at an all-time low under Museveni. He helped overthrow Idi Amin, who was a murderer, okay? Also, coffee exports have increased highly under Museveni. He's done a lot of good things, but he's ruled the country since 1986. He's not prepared a successor very well, but he still has a tremendous amount of popularity. If Museveni does a re-election and allows U.S. and European Union observers, he may very well win the election. Now, it'll be close. It'll be a tight race. There's a lot of people that support Bobby Wine that like Museveni, but they believe Museveni's been in power for entirely too long. He's ruled since 1986. But then there's a faction of them that says he's ruled since 1986, but Uganda's become safer. The AIDS crisis has been reduced drastically. I've had neighbors that have gone to Uganda, and they felt very safe going to Uganda. So there's that. But so if they call for a re-election, Museveni still may very well win, even when there is no election fraud. But Museveni is so scared about giving up power, he's just become too power hungry. I don't think he'll allow it. But the hypocrisy is, this is very, very similar with the U.S. election. What the Supreme Court needs to do is they need to do two things, the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court needs to call for a re-election, and Biden may very well win, or Trump may very well win. I believe it'll be very close, to be honest with you. The Supreme Court either needs to call for a re-election, because there was so much election fraud, or they need to give the election to Trump, and here's why. Biden may have won without the voter fraud, but the United States is a law-abiding country, and we're governed by the rule of law. If they allow the voter fraud to take place without a re-election, or without the party who engaged in voter fraud to be punished, then we become like a third world country. We become like a third world banana republic, and that's just not an example. So I don't know if it's going to amount to the Supreme Court. I think the Supreme Court's going to rule that there was voter fraud, but I don't think they're going to overturn the election, and I also don't think they're going to call for a re-election. They should, but I just don't believe that they will. But I firmly believe that they should. The Supreme Court justices' jobs are to interpret the law, not advance their own political agenda. And I'm not a fan of abortion, and you guys know that. I'm not a fan of abortion. I'm pro-life. But looking at the Constitution, there is nothing in the Constitution that gives the woman a right to abort the baby unless it would kill the mother to have the baby. Now, if it would kill the mother to have the baby, that's a little bit different because it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And particularly since 90% of the time the baby's going to die too along with the mother. But there's nothing in the Constitution, either symbolically or literally, that gives the mother the right to abort the baby. So the Supreme Court justices that ruled on the Supreme Court Roe versus Wade ought to be ashamed, because there's nothing in our Constitution that gives a woman a right to abort her baby. It's not there. It doesn't exist. That sort of right is not there in the Constitution. I've looked and tried to find what they may have extended, but it hadn't worked. Also, I'm glad the ANC has lifted the alcohol ban, although people need to be wearing masks when they're not swimming on the beach, and they don't need to be drinking on the beach. Also, they don't need to be throwing alcohol bottles and beer cans just on the ground right when there's a trash can right there. And then second off, you're doing that in protest because you're so angry. First of all, you're not killing the ANC doing that. One, you're killing the environment. Number two, you say that, but then a lot of people are still voting the ANC into power, which is just crazy. The only way that's going to change is if people stop voting the ANC in power. And the ANC didn't do all that much to end apartheid. Now, did they play a role? Yes, the ANC definitely played a role, but it was a very small role. I mean, what really ended apartheid was, one, the sanctions. The sanctions helped end apartheid, number one. Number two, international pressure helped end apartheid. And a lot of that happened with and without the ANC. The ANC put some internet pressure on the international community, but also just a lot of world leaders who had relationships with South Africa, like the UK, Sweden, the United States, Australia, New Zealand. A lot of them put pressure on South Africa to end apartheid. It really wasn't the ANC that did all that much. Now, the ANC pushed sanctions, but the sanctions probably would have happened without the ANC anyway. With that. So, and Nelson Mandela, I believe, did some good things, but he also made some key mistakes. There were several ANC leaders that didn't agree with him. He didn't target civilians, but going in and bombing the infrastructure, because the apartheid government had a very good infrastructure in terms of clean water, in terms of roads, in terms of power. And a lot of them said, don't destroy the infrastructure. We have a really good infrastructure, and it's going to be a bad infrastructure to rebuild if we destroy their infrastructure. But Mandela didn't listen, and then he founded the MK, Umkhonto we Sizwe. He founded Umkhonto we Sizwe, and that was, I firmly believe, a big mistake. And a lot of people had said, no, Madiba, don't do this, but he did it anyway. But when he got to president, like I said, he learned the Afrikaans language. He read their books. He also realized that the Afrikaners were oppressed during the Boer War. So he knew when he became president, they had to stop the cycle of oppression, because the Afrikaners were oppressed by the British. Then the Afrikaners turned around and oppressed the black majority population, as well as the coloreds and the Indians. So he knew the cycle of oppression had to stop. And I firmly respect that. But I do believe also he made some mistakes, even when he was trying to end apartheid and trying to destroy the infrastructure of South Africa was a very, very bad thing to do. And many Zulus, including Mangosuthu Buthelezi and King Goodwill Zwelithini, disagreed with that. They said it was a very good infrastructure that the South African government had, and they didn't need to destroy that. So let's if you guys have any questions or comments, please go ahead, feel free. Don't hesitate to write on the comment section or to have questions. Craig says, how's it, Brett? How's it, Craig? How are you? Hope all is well with you. And that's my take on it. Now, I firmly believe that Biden has done a good job banning travel to and from South Africa. The South African strain is just too deadly of COVID. Now, with that being said, the Pfizer vaccine is 57% effective against the South African strain. But you go look at the flu shot. Flu shots are 50 to 60% effective against the flu virus. And as I pointed out, when my family members, when we get the flu shot, we don't usually ever get the flu. That's not the case with them. So I highly disagree with Germ and some of them about the whole vaccine situation. I mean, I believe now parts of the vaccine was rushed, and Donald Trump lifted a lot of the safety measures. But had he not done that, the U.S. economy could have crumbled worse than it already was. So it could have crumbled worse than it already was. So I firmly believe in that Trump did the right thing there. Like I said, I'm getting my second injection this Wednesday, February 10th. I'll let you guys know how I'm doing. I'll do a video after I get it, and I will let you guys know how all that pans out. So that's that. So I don't know if you guys saw Chris White's video on Ugandan coffee, but Uganda has coffees have tremendously exported in 2020. The majority of the Uganda exports its majority of its coffee to Italy and to Belgium, but they also export their coffee to South Africa a little bit and also South Sudan. Coffee is typically not a local drink in Uganda, but they export it a lot and it helps the Ugandan economy. Now, how Museveni reduced AIDS, you got to give him credit for this. He introduced the contraceptive drugs, which reduce mother-to-child transmission of AIDS very, very well. He also organized an ABC program, and the ABC program was encouraging people to be abstinent. Also, the B was be faithful, and then C was use a condom. And the ABC program, as well as the contraceptive drugs, worked, and it reduced AIDS in Uganda by 80%. Leanne Prentice said, I find you and Chris very informative. I need to go back and watch your streams. I missed it. Thanks. Well, thanks, Leanne. They're there, and YouTube acts weird with me. Once they get uploaded, they're just private, but then when I have to go in there and change it after the streams have been uploaded, and then they are made available to the public, but it takes a few days. Right now, I have 922 subscribers. If you guys, please, guys, if you guys get the word out, if you guys like my content, please get the word out about my subscribers, and please get the word out about if you like my content, about encouraging other people to subscribe if you feel like they like and enjoy my content and what I have to say about Africa and what I have to say about Asia and several other countries. I try to cover countries that most of the mainstream media doesn't cover, so people know about what's going on all throughout the world. Right now, the hockey game is a high-scoring game. Chris's team, the Golden Knights, just scored a goal. It's tied 2-2, and we're not even halfway through the first period. That is rare for a hockey game. Normally, hockey games are like 3-2 final score, or 2-1 final score, or 1-0 final score. But each team has scored 2 goals, and we're not even through the first period, and that is highly, highly unusual. For a hockey game. Leanne Prentice said she sent it to family in the UK. Thank you very much, Leanne Prentice, and thank you very much for doing that. I've covered the UK as well. Also believe the Falkland Islands off in South America, off Argentina, belong to the UK. And there, in 1982, there was a Falklands War between the UK and Argentina. But 99% of the Falklands residents want to remain British subjects. They want to remain a British territory. And if the Falkland Island residents want to remain British, I believe in the principles of democracy, and I believe that the Falklands should remain in the hands of the UK. In 1982, under Argentina had a leader named Leopold Galtieri, who was a fascist dictator. Granted, he was anti-communist, so he was allied to the U.S., but so were the British. And they came and they took over the Falkland Islands, and they sent the Falklands governor Rex Hunt back to the UK on a ship. And but the British said, we're not going to tolerate this, and they sent their aircraft carriers, the HMS Hermes, and the HMS Hermes was one of them, and the HMS Invincible down there, and their bombers, the planes on the aircraft carrier were Harriers. Their Harriers came and bombed a lot of key Argentinian targets, And then the Royal Marines went ashore. So did the British Army. A lot of British paratroopers went in there, and they defeated they defeated Argentina in a matter of 2 months. There were very few British casualties, but several Argentinian casualties. And yeah, now the Argentinian Air Force did have a missile called the Exocet anti-ship missile, and it hit a key British destroyer, which caused some Navy casualties, but that was about it. The British inflicted a lot more casualties, and Argentina's never tried to attack and conquer the Falkland Islands again. And I believe they belong to the UK, plain and simple. Because also Argentina claimed the islands because when Argentina was ruled by Spain, Spain ruled the Falkland Islands. But Spain relinquished control of those islands before Argentina declared its independence. So Argentina really has not had any legal claim to the Falkland Islands because Spain released claim of those islands before they gave Argentina their independence. So Argentina really has not had any legal claim to those islands, if you personally ask me. And Max Hastings has done a good job talking about the Falklands War. Also, if you go to 20th Century Battlefields, you can find it on YouTube. They talk about the 1982 Falklands War, and it's a very, very interesting subject. Now, as far as UK politics go, I like the Conservative Party. I believe Boris Johnson is going to do a good job running the UK as the Conservative Party. If the Labour Party did a good job stripping Jeremy Corbyn of his leadership, because Jeremy Corbyn said that the United States and ISIS are both equal threats to the world. The United States has never gone in and raped 12-year-old women and chopped their head off and also burned prisoners alive. ISIS has done that particularly in recent years. And to compare the threat the U.S. gives versus the threat that ISIS has is just, and it make it the same, is just absolutely asinine. Also, Jeremy Corbyn has also had relationships with the Irish Republican Army. He's also been to funerals of Hamas and Hezbollah leaders. And the Labour Party was right to strip Jeremy Corbyn of its leadership. Many Jews in the UK also accused Jeremy Corbyn of anti-Semitism. And Jeremy Corbyn needed to be stripped of his leaderships. Now, with that being said, to his credit, he lived in a very small house and rode a bicycle to work. He lived modestly when a lot of other people, when a lot of other politicians like Julius Malema and Cyril Ramaphosa would preach giving to the poor, but then they would live a lavish lifestyle. To Jeremy Corbyn's credit, he never did that, and I have to give credit where credit is due, even though I really don't like the guy. That's what I have to talk about there. Now, with that being said, why Africa has never developed in the post-colonial world, I'll go ahead and tell you why. And George Ayitti, who's a Ghanaian living in America, he's an economist and college professor, and he talks about it. And socialism and communism, Africa experimenting with those ideologies has been disastrous, okay? The only reason they were experimented with in the first place is because a lot of the European powers engaged in capitalism. A lot of the colonial powers did, and they thought to be anti-colonial, you must be anti-capitalist, but that is not true. Africa, before the European colonists came, was engaged in capitalism. There were markets in traditional African societies, mostly ran by women, and there was a lot of price haggling that went on between the merchant and the customer. Well, the chiefs very rarely got involved unless it was just blatant corruption or blatant price fixing. So it was rare to see the African chiefs get involved in these markets. So there was a free market economy in capitalism in Africa before the colonial powers came. And so when the colonial powers left and the African nations got their independence, busts of Joseph Stalin and Lenin and Mao just started showing up everywhere. Well, what a lot of these governments did is that they employed people to study wealth income inequality and also price control, set up price regulations for exports and imports and everything that went on, and it was disastrous. Example, Julius Nyerere in Tanzania employed people to regulate prices on rice and on cotton and on all kinds of food. And Tanzania during the colonial years was one of the world's biggest food exports. But just 10, 20 years later, under Julius Nyerere, they were importing food. Tanzania was becoming a fourth world country. Julius Nyerere also did not trust the healthcare system that he created. When he was diagnosed with cancer and died, he had to go to the UK to get treated because the Tanzanian healthcare system was that broke down. That's what happened. And similar things happened in Ghana with Kwame Nkrumah. And a lot of Ghanaians have a love-hate relationship with Kwame Nkrumah, because Kwame Nkrumah did lead Ghana to its independence in the 1960s. But Kwame Nkrumah also ran Ghana's economy into the ground. He did similar things. He employed a lot of price control measures and employed people to regulate the price control, gave the people who were regulating these prices very high salaries. But then the currency of Ghana went down, the export values went down, and it was just a disaster. And that is why when Jerry Rawlings came in there, Ghana became more free market oriented, and Ghana is slowly but steadily lifting itself out of poverty. And as I've said, Kwame Nkrumah wasn't anti-white. He allowed a lot of white South Africans who were expelled because they opposed apartheid to have safe haven in Ghana. And he also married a non-black African. He married an Egyptian lady, and he was chastised by a lot of his supporters for doing it, but he remained faithful to his wife and, basically told the guys to kiss his ass that, he wasn't going to be racist. So there's some things I respect about Kwame Nkrumah. And Zambia has learned a lot of lessons from the Ghana situation, because Zambia right now are not going to nationalize a lot of their mines. They said, not Kenneth Combs, Edgar Lungu, the current president of Zambia, says that he's through nationalizing a lot of the mines right now. He's done doing that, because the last time when Zambia got its independence from the UK, they had that leader Kenneth Combs, and Kenneth Combs nationalized a lot of the mines. Well, production went down, prices went down, and the production and the prices tripled once the mines became privatized. When the mines became privatized in the 1990s, Zambia's copper exports went through the roof. Also, their gold exports went through the roof as well. And the Edgar Lungu says we're not going to nationalize any more mines. Now, Zambia needs to take lessons from Chile. Now, Chile, the mines are largely privatized, but if there's a lot of labor exploitations that go on or shady business deals, then the government can get involved, but only when it's exploitation of labor and blatant exploitation. So Zambia needs to take a lot of lessons from Chile there. And props to Bloomberg Business for reporting this. Bloomberg Business had recently reported this situation. Well, anyway, it's been 28 minutes. Props to all you people who have tuned in, but I'm gonna end this stream right here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless, and bye bye. Bye bye.